All right, folks. Many of you have been trying to get me to cover this story. And as you guys know, I haven't been talking about Turkey all that much, Türkiye. But of course, as the Turks say, masadayız, which means we are at the table. Now, once again, Western nations are selling the Kurds short. Surprise, surprise. But I think it's largely symbolic in any case. But the Turks have agreed to allow Sweden and Finland into the NATO alliance. Originally, Recep Tayyip Erdogan had a lot of negative opinions on said matters, but he wanted to get something out of it, which is actually a smart tactical decision, let's be real. But what he wanted to get out of it was, well, let's see what they wanted to get out of it.
Other leaders are welcoming Sweden and Finland to the Western military alliance.
Good morning, Vlad. You know, it isn't just that Sweden and Finland are two large, resource-rich nations now joining NATO. It's the message that it sends to Russian President Vladimir Putin that his efforts to destabilize NATO backfired. NATO's 30 member countries are poised to add 2 more. The move will more than double the length of NATO's border with Russia.
And I'm pleased to announce that we now have an agreement.
Sweden and Finland applied for NATO membership last month.
For the record, I do not give a fuck. I do not give a fuck how much you love Vladimir Putin or how based of a Marxist-Leninist anti-imperialist you are. If you do not think that this agreement and this expansion of NATO borders on Russia is not almost entirely the fault of Vladimir Putin, I don't know what to tell you. He did this. You reap what you fucking sow, okay? Suka blyat. You 100% reap what you fucking sow. Not only, like, it is the worst thing he could have done. He invaded Ukraine, and not only did he invade Ukraine and show how brutal he was going to be in land wars, all of the other nations in that region, okay? He legitimized every fucking NATO general's up until that moment, unrealistic fears, and also did it in such a fucking horrible way where he undermined the power of his own military, where other countries now see the Russian military not as a force to be reckoned with, but as a military that can't even take down a nation state that did not have a standing military until like 8 years ago. So if you don't fear Russia, and if Russian forces are spread too thin, why the fuck wouldn't you join NATO? So it was such an erroneous and, of course, violent tactical misstep that, like, anyone who is even on the side of Russia in this equation, if they don't recognize that, I don't know what to tell them. Holy shit, dude.
Putin's decision to invade one neighbor had them worried he might be willing to attack another.
After 200 years of military non-alignment, Sweden has chosen a new path.
President Biden helped to broker the deal. Russia's attempts to rattle the West have instead led to a larger Western alliance that is better funded and surging troops to the Russian border.
Putin was looking for the Finlandization of Europe. You're going to get the NATOization of Europe.
Roughly 8 million Ukrainians have now...
Back attack, dude. Hey, how about you fucking... When you're done defending Europe, how about you come back and defend American women for a second? Please. Like, I am by no means... Like, I'm a globalist cuck myself. I do think that, like, peaceful negotiations are the way forward and not war when you talk about, like, nations interacting with one another, engaging with one another. But goddamn, bro, like, just do a little bit of isolation, okay? Just a little bit, just come back to America, Jack. Come on, Mac Attack.
First Lady Dr. Jill Biden visited a refugee center.
Damn, bro, they literally did this guy so dirty. Look at this.
First Lady.
CBS Morning was like, this balding is offensive. They literally censored the bald. Do you see this? That's really fucked up, bro. Bald rights. Like, nobody cares about bald visibility. The funniest part is, like, they didn't even talk about what Turkey's interests were in the fucking deal that they struck. And it's an extradition of Kurdish journalists and people that the Turkish government has declared Kurdish enemies of the state, for the record. I wonder why the American news outlets aren't talking about the things that Turkey got for their end of the bargain. Perhaps maybe if they were to clearly set the terms and the conditions, maybe Americans that are at least paying attention would be like, wait a minute, aren't the Kurds our allies or some shit? Well, I don't fucking know. They're brown. Who gives a shit? But I wonder if that's the reason, because this is what Turkey got. Turkey declares victory over its demands from Sweden and Finland, says it extracted what it wanted from them. Here are the things Turkey got. Sweden and Finland will lift its arms embargo. Both will support Turkey on PKK, stop support to YPG, They will amend their laws on terrorism, they will share intel with each other, and they will extradite terror suspects. The people that are considered to be terror suspects is very broad. You're an American, you probably already know what a terror suspect is, what terrorists are. Terrorism is a simply political tool to deny someone their human rights. Finland and Sweden will support Turkey's participation to EU's PESCO. Turkey, Finland, and Sweden will establish a permanent joint mechanism to consult on justice, security, and intelligence. Here's the joint declaration. Sweden and Finland confirm that there are no arms embargoes against Turkey. Finland and Sweden confirm that the PKK is a prescribed terrorist organization, which is normal. They already were. Like NATO already considered PKK to be a prescribed terrorist organization. Basically allowing a genocide against Kurds so they can hope to stop the war in Ukraine. Really sound logic there, boys. No, a genocide against Kurdish people is already happening. What the fuck do you mean? That's not new. What? The Turkish military has been fucking ripping Kurds to shreds in the northern Syrian corridor, which they maintain control over, and inside of Turkish borders already. That's not new. This also shuts off one of the networks of support for Kurds that are getting help from or getting protection in the form of like a lack of extradition treaties in places like Sweden and in places like Finland. It's a meme that Kurdish people get fucked by the USA and West. I mean, yeah. It's not a meme, though. It is the truth. How does Turkey have this much power over NATO? My brother, Turkey is NATO, and NATO is Turkey. For those of you who are wondering why does Turkey have this much power? Well, let me tell you. Because in order for other countries to join NATO, prominent nations within NATO have to agree. I say prominent nations within NATO because there are other countries in NATO that would say no, but they'll get fucking steamrolled. But you need approval from all nations technically. And there are ones that you can easily command, motivate to do, to vote in the way that you want them to. And there are others who don't. Germany and France are two examples of this. They are the two main reasons why Ukraine was never going to join NATO, okay, because of their relationship with Russia. Turkey is another prominent nation within NATO. It has a very unique position in NATO. It's the only NATO nation that has been in like literal fucking outright war with other NATO nations. Straight up. Like Turkey currently is engaging in a proxy battle with France in Libya. Turkey is currently engaging in like outright battle from time to time with Greece and multiple proxy battles. And despite all that, America still wants Turkey to be a part of NATO because it has a very powerful military and originally had missile bases directed towards the USSR. Remember the Cuban Missile Crisis? It would have been called the Turkish Missile Crisis, but it wasn't because history is written by the victors and America won the Cold War. PYD and YPG haven't been classified as terrorist organizations by the EU or Finland. Well, why would they? They are the American State Department wing of the PKK. But because of the way that the Western world treats the Kurds as a militant arm that they will use whenever they feel like it, only to cast them aside like toys that they no longer want to play with. I have predicted this from years away, and I've told you time and time again that this was going to happen. How will Kurds recover? I mean, how will Kurds recover? This is the life of Kurds. This is all Kurds know. 35 million Kurdish people live in diaspora. It's the largest ethnic group in the Middle East without a nation state. But that is precisely what Kurds are used to, no matter what happens. The only way a nation state for Kurdish people will be built in the Middle East is if it is an Israel-style development, okay, which would be disastrous, or one that is built alongside the other regional leaders, whether it be Iran or whether it be Turkey and Iran. However, that would never happen because Western leadership would never allow that to happen. So Kurds are always in a constant state of limbo, being used by the Western interests, and they will continue to be used forever. Ironic, of course, because we are having a conversation around Ukraine, a established nation state that is currently being used for their own personal and genuine and legitimate reasons for emancipation, and the Western nation states are using their genuine interest in emancipation to weaponize them against a foreign adversary. Ironic that there is just so much evil on both sides of this equation on all fronts. How is a nation state for Kurds not an ethno state, not being a bad chatter, just dumb? Well, there are certain ethnic groups that haven't necessarily been able to establish a nation state for themselves when others were able to in the aftermath of imperialist rule over the region. You're denying a right to a country to people that want to have one, that deserve to have one, really. Very simple for you to say that and be like, well, isn't that an ethno state? What if they already live there and have better defined borders? Think about that. This is why I talk about nationalist movements and the difference between fascist nationalism and emancipatory nationalist movements. If you already have an established nation state and you are engaging in nationalism, that can be very damaging and that can be very scary. If you are still suppressed by colonial rule, if you have an imperial power that is still, I don't know, undermining your authority, then that kind of nationalism can be emancipatory. The efforts of the Kurds to establish a country are ridiculous, should not be supported by any leftists. On the one hand, they complain about the violence inherent in the nation state. On the other hand, they want to establish a nation state of their own. This is hypocrisy. Well, dude, what do you want them to do? They have nothing. You want them to just die? This is not like Quebec. They have nothing. All that has been carved out for Kurds is like a piece of Iraq. That's why sometimes you'll see like fucking NATO simping Kurds in this chat. Ironic because like those same institutions will sell Kurds down the river as they have time and time again. They don't give a shit. But this is a big dub for Erdogan.